Welcome to Creative Sondo. For this bucket hat, I'm using sugar and cream yarn that is 100% cotton and medium weight. With this, you'll need a 5mm crochet hook, and you will also need some stitch markers. Let's start with the magic ring, and this is how I do it. I hold the yarn as if I'm crocheting, and then I twist the yarn to make a loop where the shorter end is in the back. Insert the hook, and then pull up a loop, and then chain 1. Now we're ready to do some crochet stitches. We're going to do a half double crochet stitch where we yarn over, insert the hook from the front to the back of the stitch, yarn over, pick up the loop, and then yarn over and pull back through all 3 loops on the hook. Then we will repeat. Now let's count the V of the top of the stitches and make sure that you have a total of 7. Then pull on the tail of the magic ring to tighten it. We're going to create our 8th stitch by creating a slip stitch. Put your needle through the V of the first stitch like this. Yarn over and then pull through the stitch to create a slip stitch. We're going to chain 1, then create a half double crochet into that first stitch that we just created a slip stitch to. And then mark that first stitch that we just created with a stitch marker. Next, do a half double crochet into the same stitch that we just did. This is because we're going to be increasing in every stitch for this row. So repeat this in every stitch, and in the end of the row, you should have a total of 16 stitches. Now we are going to start row 3 by taking off the marker, doing a slip stitch to close off row 2, and then chain 1, do a half double crochet into that first stitch where the marker was, and then place the starting marker. In row 3, we are going to do 1 half double crochet and then increase in the next stitch and repeat that. So in the next stitch, next to the starting stitch that we just did, do 2 half double crochets into the same stitch and then repeat 1 half double crochet and then increase, 1 half double crochet and then increase. The total number of stitches that you should have at the end will be 24. Make sure you count that you have 24 stitches before moving on to the next row. Now let's close off row 3 by doing a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 1 to start off the row 4. And in row 4, we're going to do 2 half double crochets and then an increase and repeat these 4 stitches until we have a total of 32 stitches. So do the first half double crochet into the stitch that we had the start marker in, place the marker back in, and then do a half double crochet into the next stitch, so into the second one, and then increase on the third stitch. And now you should have 4 stitches for row 4, and we're going to repeat this until you have a total of 32 stitches. Row 5 is going to be just like row 4, where the only difference is we're doing 3 half double crochets and then an increase, and repeating these 5 stitches until you have 40 stitches in total. Don't forget to count, you should have 40 stitches in total. Now instead of increasing the number of half double crochets we did before and increase for every row, we're going to change it up a little bit so that there are no corners as the circle increases. So instead of doing 4 half double crochets and then an increase for row 6, we're going to do 1 half double crochet and then an increase, and then 4 half double crochets and then an increase. Then we're going to repeat the 4 half double crochets and the increase until you have 3 stitches left. In the 3 stitches that you have left, we're going to do half double crochets in each. Row 7 is going to be very similar to what we just did in row 6. We're going to do a half double crochet and then an increase, and then 5 half double crochets and then an increase, and we're going to repeat the 5 half double crochets and an increase set 7 times. And then when you have 4 stitches left, we're going to do half double crochets in each of the 4 stitches, and then the total stitches that you would have is 56. For row 8, we're going back to what we did in row 4 and row 5 by doing 6 half double crochets and then an increase, and repeating this set 8 times. In total, you should have 64 stitches. And going forward, we're going to be repeating these 2 types of rows. One row is going to be a set of 8, where you are increasing a number of half double crochets and then an increase. And then you're going to do a row where you start with 1 half double crochet and then an increase, and then the repeating set. And then we're going to alternate between those 2, and this is going to allow the circle to grow as a circle instead of looking like a hexagon. I crocheted 10 rows, and I stopped because the diameter became 7 to 7.5 inches, and that was the diameter I wanted for my head. So you can do less or more rows based on the size of the head that you are making this hat for. Now we're going to add height to the hat, and for the first row we're going to do the half double crochet in the back loop only. So when you're looking at the V shape, there is 2 loops, so one in the front and one in the back, and we're only going to crochet to the back like I'm showing you here. So do a half double crochet but only in the back loop. We're not increasing any stitches here, so just 1 half double crochet per stitch and just through the back loop only. Once you're done with the first row, we're going to continue doing half double crochets normally, so not just on the back loop, but through both of the loops, and with no increases or decreases until you reach the height that you want. So for every row, make sure you slip stitch and then you do one chain and then do the half double crochets like how we've been doing. And then once you reach the height that you want, we can start working on the brim. I stopped when the height reached about 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. Now we're going to work on the brim. We're going to do the first row of single crochets just on the front loop. So if you also just did 10 rows for the hat, the diameter part, and you have 80 stitches total right now, you can follow these steps. So do single crochets on the front loop only instead of the back or the regular way 9 times, and then we're going to increase, so 2 single crochets in 1 stitch, and this also front loop only. We're going to repeat this. Since I stopped at row 10 and I had 80 stitches, in the end I will have 88. But for example, if you stopped at row 8, then what you're going to do is, instead of doing 9 single crochets and then the increase, you're going to do 7 single crochets and then the increase. And the total number of stitches should be 8 plus whatever you started off with. So for example, if you had row 8 and you have 64 stitches total, then after this first row of the brim, you should have 72 stitches. We'll finish row 1 by doing a slip stitch and then start the second row of the brim with a chain 1. And then for the second row, we're just going to do single crochets normally all over with no increases or decreases. So whatever number of stitches that you had in the previous row, you should have the same number of total stitches after you're done with row 2. So for me, since I had 88 after row 1, I should have 88 after row 2. Always count to make sure you have the correct number of stitches. We are increasing in row 3. So do 1 single crochet. So this is going to be that first single crochet that you do with that starter marker. And then in the next stitch, we're going to increase. Then we are going to do 10 single crochets and then an increase, and repeat that set 7 times. And in the end, you should have 9 stitches left, and you're going to do 9 single crochets. If your hat size is different than mine, and for example you did 7 single crochets and then the increase in row 1 for the brim, you're going to do 8 single crochets and then the increase set 7 times, and you should just single crochet the rest. And again, whatever total number that you had in the last row, so row 2, you should have 8 more. In row 4, we are not increasing anything, so just do single crochets all around, and you should have the same number of total stitches as row 3. During row 4, I finished using one ball of yarn, so I'm going to add a new yarn to this project. I'm going to add the new yarn in the middle of doing a single crochet, so I just did a yarn over for the single crochet, but instead of pulling it through with the old yarn, I'm going to pull through 2 loops with the new yarn and then continue crocheting as normal. I'm going to clean up these strands later after I'm done using a needle and just weaving it through the hat. For row 5, we're going to do 11 single crochets and then the increase and repeat that 8 times. You should have a total of 104 stitches. And if your size is different from mine, how many single crochets that you did in row 3 before the increase, you're going to plus 1 to that. So if you did 7 single crochets and then the increase and you repeated that 7 times, you're going to do 8 single crochets and then increase and repeat that 8 times. For row 6, we are not increasing anything, so just do single crochets. We're going to repeat these type of rows continuously until you reach the length of the brim that you want, and I'll have it on the screen so you can see what type of pattern it is. I stopped mine at row 8. Once you reach the length of the brim that you want, you're going to want to cut the string after you're done with that row. And then we're going to clean up all these strands, and then your hat is done. To make the end look cleaner, I'm going to put the strand through the first stitch and then go back to the stitch that I just finished to create like a fake loop so that the first and the last stitches are now connected seamlessly. Then flip over the hat on the inside and we can start weaving through in various directions. I recommend going in every direction that you can to make sure that the yarn is well embedded and you can't just pull it out in one direction. And instead of going through the entire stitch, make sure you're just staying on those strands that are on the back of the hat on the inside so you can't see it from the outside. And do the same thing for all the other strands that you have on your hat. To make the bucket hat look cuter, I'm using a black yarn that I have at home, and you can use any type of black yarn that you have, but I wouldn't go any thinner than what you're already making with. So wherever you want to place the eye, you're going to thread the needle from the inside to the outside, leaving some tail for you to weave in later. And then loop the yarn around your needle twice and place the yarn back in very close to where you came out of. Then pull the yarn tight, not super tight where the entire thing will unravel, but tight enough so it will form a ball. Then we're going to repeat the same thing for the other eye. Find the placement where you want the other eye and make sure there is no lagging strands between the eyes and the back. And then do the same thing, loop twice around the needle and then place the needle back in very close to where it came out of. For the smile, I'm going to start from the top of the smile and then go back in to the other side of the smile. Then I'm going to see how I like the smile to look, like this. Once I have the shape that I like, what I'm going to do is bring the needle back out where I want to place the bottom of the smile to be, to put it in place. And then bring the yarn downwards over the smile and bring it back in through the same place. So I can place that bottom of the smile just where I want it. And that's it.